the radical, fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this July 15th, Monday. Exciting weekend. A lot of football, soccer, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys were just focused on the television watching Spain beat England and Argentina beat Colombia. No, I mean, I watched that as well, but most of us were focused on the shooting, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, and which happened on Saturday. I was thinking of doing a live show on Saturday to kind of cover it, but it was like, what was I going to say? The information was it was hard to figure out what was real, what was not. There's not a lot of information even today, certainly not about who this guy, it was, not is, was, but what his motivations were. And there was certainly a lot of fog of war at the time, although we don't know that much more right now. But it was, what I find interesting more than anything else is kind of how everybody's responded to this. So it's kind of the gamut of responses to this. So I'm glad I waited, even though I'm sure would have gotten a much bigger response on the day of. Although, isn't it amazing that something dramatic happens over the weekend and everybody rushes to see what Yaron has to say about it? Some of you sound really stoked for this show. Not sure what that means. Yes, so a 20-year-old... A 20-year-old managed to get on a roof of a building 400 yards, I guess, or was it feet away from where Donald Trump was speaking, with a rifle. Managed to crawl on that roof and get off a number of feet, 130 yards, 400 feet. Managed to get off shots and... Unbelievably, he came very close, very close, to killing Donald Trump. I mean, literally, if Trump had not moved his head at the very moment, fraction of a second, that the shot was made, that bullet would have landed up inside of his head. It was not even an issue of inches. It was an issue of millimeters. It wouldn't have taken much for just a slight shift in the angle of the head for that bullet to go right through his head. So Donald Trump got lucky. We'll talk about that in a minute because this is going to be spinned as anything other than luck. But Donald Trump got lucky. And he survived. He went immediately to the ground, surrounded by Secret Service officers, and of course, stood up and in a photo that will go down in history, he pushed his fist up into the air and I guess yelled out, "Fight, fight." I guess this is after he told the Secret Service guys that he needed to get his shoes. But then he did this, I mean, you got to give it to Donald Trump. I mean, to have, to be aware of where you are, what you're doing, and to pull out a photo op and to propel yourself into the history books with this amazing photo, it takes a real marketing mind and a presence. So I'll give him that. This is how he described it. Quote, "The energy coming from the people there in that moment, they just stood there. It's hard to describe what that felt like. But I knew the world was looking. I knew the world was looking. I knew that history would judge this. And I knew I had to let them know we are okay." So, Trump even in the midst of gunfire, is very aware of basically television, very aware of where he is and very aware of the significance of what he does. Again, this is a marketing genius, and he did what will go down as an iconic moment. It was immediately picked up by everybody. He was immediately praised for his courage and presence of mind and strength and everything else. And almost within minutes, Elon Musk endorsed him for president, gave him his full endorsement for president. So, yeah, I mean, you cannot do this better than the way Donald Trump did it. Now, you know, being under fire, you got to give him credit for having the presence of mind. It is pretty amazing. There's a famous video of Ronald Reagan. You know, Ronald Reagan had this assassination attempt on him, and somebody shot him. And then he's standing, years later, he's standing and giving a speech, and a balloon pops, and it sounded like gunfire. And like in the middle of the speech, he stops and said, "They missed me," and he kept going. So, but yeah, I mean, Trump didn't panic. He didn't freak out. He didn't lose it. He stayed with it, you know, to his credit, I guess. And he had the foresight to create an iconic image on top of that. So, wow, I mean, that takes skill. The guy who did this, Crook is his name. That's quite a name. Imagine having a name, you know, Thomas Crooks. Very little is known about him. He looks very geeky. It sounds like he was bullied in school. There's always a psychological explanation for this. Bullied in school, and was a loner. I guess I read somewhere that he tried out for the rifle team in school, and was such a bad shot that he was kicked out after the first meeting or lesson or whatever. And he obviously got better because he almost hit the head. I mean, generally, if you're going to shoot somebody, don't shoot the head. I mean, that's in the movies. But the head is a small target. Go for the chest or the back, or, you know, go for the middle of the body. That's where you're going to get. That's where you're much more likely to hit there than you are to hit the head. Just a general tip: if you ever get in a situation where you need to shoot somebody, don't try to be some sharpshooting action movie hero. Yeah, somebody said if he'd made the rifle team, Trump would be dead. He registered as a Republican in 2022 when he turned 18. But he also gave a contribution, a small contribution, $15 to some progressive group. So how to tell what is meaningful, what is not? In high school, classmates describe him as politically conservative. Again, that is 2, 3, 4 years ago. So people change. Doesn't mean anything. What else? I mean, this is who he was. So nobody knows why he did this. It could be political. I mean, we live in a world in which it wouldn't surprise me that somebody who thinks that Donald Trump is the next Hitler would take a shot at him. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody shot Biden, given the way people think about him and what they think he is, and the danger he poses to the country, right? I mean, the country's over if Biden gets reelected. We've heard that over and over again. And we're going to fascism if Trump is going to be elected. We've heard that over and over again. So for now, we have no knowledge what drove him and what motivated him. He might be a far-left radical, but we don't know that. What is interesting is moments after the shooting happened, somebody was already blaming a particular Maxwell Urich, a particular Antifa guy, and claiming it was him. He did the shooting. And I'm seeing even today, people are still claiming that it's this Antifa guy, and that the FBI is and the Secret Service and everybody else are basically just faking, and that Thomas Crooks didn't do it. It's not Thomas Crook. It's the Antifa guy, this is just a cover-up in order to protect the far left. I also saw arguments on the right that it was the Biden administration, that the Secret Service really was in on it. Now, we'll get to the incompetence of the Secret Service in a minute, because it is a little mind-boggling, right? It wasn't me. It was not me. Anyway, there is, again, conspiracy theories all over the place, and particularly on the right, where they are, of course, claiming this. There was also claims on the left. They claims on the left that that this was all an inside job. That is, that the shot was actually taken. This is all kind of a right-wing conspiracy to elevate Donald Trump and to put him in a better position to win. And it was all faked. None of it was real, right? So, as you would expect, an event like this is just rife and filled and with all-consuming conspiracy theories. They will never go away. It doesn't matter what is done. The conspiracy theories will always be there. They'll be added on to. I mean, there are people out there. I don't know if you know this. But there are people out there who think that the world is flat. I mean, if there are people out there who think the world is flat, there will always be people who hold conspiracy theories no matter what about every event possible, including this one. So whether he was a far left radical who was radicalized over the last 2 years by the far left, and who took his father's gun and pulled this off, or whether he was some lonely, nutty kid who, in different circumstances, might have gone into a school and done a school shooting, but figured maybe he would make it into the history books better if he shot the future president of the United States. Maybe, all right, Scott, go to hell. I mean, that is so stupid. Yeah. Let's see. And that's disgusting, Scott. Go to hell. Yeah, the conspiracy theories are just as crazy as Netanyahu's responsible for September 7th. God. That's just, the stupidity of some people is just, it's just beyond comprehension. And it's not even stupidity. It's just vile ugliness and an attempt to hide their own irrationality by somehow figuring out how to attack me. Right? He's gone, so he's gone. At least for now, he's gone. So he's not going to distract me. So conspiracy theories are going to be out there. Conspiracy theories about the Biden administration, conspiracy theory about the Secret Service, conspiracy theories about Antifa. The left will have its own conspiracy theories about how this was all staged by the right in order to elevate Trump into the presidency. Because one thing is pretty clear from all of this. One thing is pretty clear. That Donald Trump is very likely. I mean, if he was already likely, he was probably 75, 80% likely before this. He's not 90%, 95% likely to be elected president in November. I mean, if people rallied behind him before this is definitely going to excite people and get people behind him, and getting people motivated. And he plays the victim really, really well, and he's gonna make hay of this. Now we'll talk about what he does in the next few days in a minute, but yes, this has won him the election. He was already winning. Biden had taken care of that, and this is, I think, he has now basically won it. No matter what they discover about this Crooks, as I was saying, I mean, you remember when somebody shot Ronald Reagan? Do you know why he shot Ronald Reagan? I forget his name. Do you know why he shot Ronald Reagan? He shot Ronald Reagan to impress a girl. Is this guy? Did this guy do it to impress a girl? Did this guy, Hinckley? Thank you, Hinckley. Did he die? Hinckley is the guy who shot Ronald Reagan. Did this guy do it because he wanted to commit suicide and he wanted to go out with a bang? Did he do it instead of going to school and shooting up his school? Or did he do it because he was convinced, Donald Trump was the second coming of Hitler, and he wanted to save the world? One, of course, of the great tragedies is that in shooting Trump, the bullet hit one of the people at the Trump rally. It killed a volunteer firefighter who supposedly, at least according to what I'm reading, when he heard the shots, jumped in front of his family to protect his family and took a bullet. We have one person who appears to have been who was killed. Then there are two people who were injured by the bullets. So the fact that the bullets didn't hit Donald Trump or didn't kill Donald Trump or injure him significantly, you still have to remember that other people did die. So this is still kind of a horrific act of nihilism on the part of Crooks and a part of anybody who supports this. And, of course, an affront to our political system. As much as I despise Donald Trump, as much as I hate Donald Trump, the solution is not assassination. The solution is not violence. And in a context, the only context in which violence can be justified is an all-out revolution. And that is impossible today. In a revolution in the name of what, right? The only justification would be an all-out revolution in the name of liberty, in the name of freedom. And that's not possible today because nobody believes in freedom and liberty. There is nobody to revolt for, right? So, this is just an act of nihilistic violence. It's an act of complete irrationality, as all acts of perpetrating violence are. It could have two different effects, and partially depends on the motivation, and partially depends if anybody talked to this kid and motivated this kid, or whether this was all just him doing this. It could lead to a lot more political violence. It could lead to retaliation and significant rise in violence in American politics. I hope not. Or it could lead to the opposite, of people kind of walking away from the brink and changing the rhetoric and changing kind of the level of hatred and just the level of portraying the other side as the devil, as the incarnate devil, and evil through and through, and a vote for the other side is evil in and of itself, and the only way to fight evil is with violence. So it is quite possible that it's quite possible that one could see a reduction in the the virulence of kind of the dialogue and discussion around these things. Somebody says, why do you hate Trump? I hate Trump for well-documented, articulated reasons that I've done for a long, long, long time. So I continue to hate Trump. I despise Trump. And then he says, hateful feelings are not good for you. Who said that? I think hateful feelings, when they're justified, are very good for you. Indeed, denying hate, denying your feelings, that is what can cause you problems. So to hate something that deserves hatred is a good thing, not a bad thing. Yeah, I saw Destiny yesterday. Destiny yesterday basically was saddened by the fact that the shooter had missed. Was hoping for the death of Trump, which surprised me because I didn't think Destiny was that unhinged. I didn't think Destiny was that, that out there. I thought that Destiny was kind of a regular centrist who would condemn political violence, but he wasn't. He embraced political violence. I don't think one should ever embrace political violence unless one is fighting for the cause of freedom and one is ready to declare a revolution. Those are my criteria, and since that is not the case today, what happened in Pennsylvania is unjustified, unwarranted, ridiculous, evil. I'm glad that Donald Trump didn't get hurt or didn't get hurt badly. I'm glad the guy missed. I'm glad the Secret Service took him out. I'm glad he's dead. That is, I think, the position that any sane human being should have. That while I despise Donald Trump, I don't want him to be killed in a politically motivated. I assume it's politically motivated. We still don't know. Attack. If it's not politically motivated, then it's just pure nihilism. And that's evil, just as evil. So in any case, shooting Donald Trump, shooting anybody dead that is not an act of self-defense is evil and wrong. All right, let's see. A few more things I wanted to say about all of this. As I said, conspiracy theories all over the place. Don't be fooled by them. It really is noise and nonsense and stupidity. Yeah, let's say a little bit about just the sheer unbelievable incompetence of the Secret Service. I mean, and the local police, as far as I can tell. The Secret Service basically let the local police do a sweep of the area, and local police are stationed everywhere to help the Secret Service. The Secret Service, of course, surround the president, but they also have snipers on the roofs, and they monitor the entire area. Here, though, is a roof 400 feet from where the president is going to speak. You would think it would have been identified as a place to keep an eye out, to keep an eye on. You'd think that there would be police or Secret Service monitoring that roof and monitoring any access to that roof. And yet somehow this guy got a ladder, or maybe pre-positioned a ladder there. I don't know. Nobody knows yet. Or somebody might know, but so far nobody knows. Pre-positioned a ladder there, managed to climb up onto the roof, crawl with a gun. Now, bystanders in the crowd saw this, pointed it out to the police. Some of them just ignored it. Now, maybe they thought, oh, that's one of the Secret Service guys, the Secret Service snipers up there. I don't know. But supposedly one policeman actually did go up onto the roof. Now, again, it's hard to tell, fog of war, hard to tell which stories are real and which are not. Matthew Crooks, or Thomas Matthew Crooks, pointed the gun at him, and the policeman kind of backed off. And then Crooks turned and fired at Trump. At the same time, there are pictures showing a Secret Service sniper seeing the rifle, the gunman, right, and not taking the shot. It reminded me of like rules of engagement in Iraq. Until they shoot at you, you can't shoot at them. Here you see some guy crawling with an AR-15-like weapon, it's interesting that they don't give the weapon a name. They say it's AR-15-like. An AR-15 semi-automatic weapon, and you hesitate, you don't shoot, and somebody said he didn't get authorization. Again, fog of war, hard to tell. Didn't get authorization to shoot. Why not? Fear of killing an innocent? I mean, what is an innocent doing on a roof with an AR-15? And then, you know, I mean, once he shot him kid. He killed him. And he shot quickly. Once the guy fired 3 shots, you can fire 3 shots very, very quickly. The Secret Service took him down. But why he ever got a shot off? It's just the whole thing, and this is why conspiracy theories are going to be popular and rampant and everywhere. It's because there is amazing incompetence here. Amazing incompetence here. And incompetence will always breed suspicion of something deeper going on. Now, of course, the incompetence could be just PC, woke, BS, don't fire at somebody, even if he's got, maybe it's a toy gun. You know, don't fire. Why did the police back off? Why didn't somebody spot, you know, a ladder sooner? The whole thing is, you know, just people were slacking off. I mean, my guess is people are just slacking off. And whoever was supposed to give the authorization to fire was, you know, just weak. But I don't think there's anything deeper than that. There's nothing more than that. There's nothing, you know, fishy. There's something fishy, but there's nothing conspiratorial here. This is just incompetence. Just incompetence. And it shouldn't surprise you. It's the Secret Service. It's a government organization. It's just not. And they're guarding somebody campaigning for president, not even the president himself. And I don't delete comments. I didn't delete your comment, Hadanza. And so they're protecting a former president who's running for president. There hasn't been a shooting against the president or or anybody like that in years and years and years, right? Nothing like this has happened in a long, long time. They're just slacking off. They're not taking the job seriously. They're just they're not on top form. They're not focused. They're not focused. All right. Valdrin asks, anyone is free to gift a membership? Yes, anybody's free to gift a membership. You can use the super chat button to gift a membership, and you can also become a member. But and the main perk of membership is you get access to all the members-only shows, and you get to participate live in the members-only shows. That's the main benefit of being a member. Plus, you get to support the show. One more way to support the show. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Yeah, unbelievable incompetence. We talked about that. Stunning. Stunning. Okay. Oh, by the way, a few just interesting tidbits that have happened. MSNBC today pulled the plug on the morning show, Morning Joe, because they were afraid that the host might say something inappropriate, like, "Ooh, I wish he hadn't missed," right? Like Destiny did. So they pulled the plug on one of the most popular shows. Now, I'm not sure what they're going to do with the rest of the lineup and how they're going to prevent hosts from expressing that opinion. But that is kind of interesting that they would go to that extent as to cancel a show on MSNBC. So that happened this morning. Elon Musk is tweeting up a storm. Oh, about the Secret Service. Yes, Elon Musk has been making a big deal out of the fact that some of the Secret Service surrounding Trump, at least one of them was a female, and she's significantly smaller than Trump. And so a big deal is made of how much this is woke. And it turns out that the new head of Secret Service, who's a woman, has got a goal of 30% Secret Service agent being women. And then the question, of course, is if she's significantly smaller than Trump, how can she shield Trump? How can she really protect Trump? What's the point? And of course, there is an issue. Should women be Secret Service agents in the field doing that kind of work? Should there be a height requirement? Should there be proficiency? It didn't look like she and one other Secret Service agent were very good at handling their weapons. I mean, overall, the impression I got overall was just sheer incompetence on the part of the Secret Service, and including the female officer there. Now, whether that should put into question whether they should have any female, you know, you'd have to be a pro and understand everything that the Secret Service does and how they do it to be able to tell. Joining the crowd, joining the people that expressed their wishes that the shooter had not missed were a lot of people on Twitter. But then I guess Jack Black's band, he has a bandmate called Tenacious D, and who said during a show last night, I guess, "Don't miss Trump next time." And Jack Black said, "Thank you." So some celebrities supporting Trump, 50 Cent, played Many Men. I don't know who 50 Cent is. You're going to have to help me with this. But some rapper in honor of Donald Trump. And he edited Get Rich or Die Trying cover with Trump's face. So Trump's going to become an icon, I guess, among some rappers, who now think he's the man because he took a bullet and then stood up and waved his fist and appeared courageous and strong. So crazy, insane Secret Service. Okay, what happens now? Where do we go from here? And let me just remind everybody, we've got 300 people watching, so I might as well remind you now. The Yaron Brook Show is a listener-supported show. It is a show supported by listeners like you, by viewers like you. You basically are paying for my time and my effort, my research, whatever I do, in order to bring you these shows. I'm providing a value. I like value. I like the traded principle, value for value, win-win relationships. So it would be great if you would consider supporting the Yaron Brook Show. If you're live, you can easily do it right now by going to the super chat. There's a dollar sign at the bottom of your screen. You can click on that. And you can do a sticker like Mike has and a bunch of people already have, or you can ask a question. But if you don't want to ask a question, you can do a sticker, or you can buy some memberships for yourself and for other people. So there's a lot of ways in which the 300 of you who are live right now could be supporting the show. You can also support the show on a monthly basis through Patreon, Yaron Brook Show, or through yaronbrookshow.com/membership on my website, and that uses PayPal. All right. So what now? So Biden came out last night. He actually just before the football match, the soccer match between Colombia and Argentina, he came out with a statement. The statement was, of course, that he had called Trump the night of the assassination attempt, that this was horrible, that he condemns political violence, that political violence has no place in American politics. All of that was good. He also ran off a whole list of the kind of political violence that has occurred against congressmen, against others. He urged people not to jump to conclusions in terms of the motivation of this guy, and so on. It was not a bad speech. It was not a particularly good speech, but it was not a bad speech. And the bottom line of the thing was, we got to unite the country. We got to get together. We got to unite the country. We disagree, but we got to change the way we're talking to one another. We got to stop vilifying. We got to stop demonizing the other side. As far as I know, the Democrats have also pulled some of their ads. They're changing their advertising. They're changing everything else to be less, I guess, virulently anti-Trump, and who knows what they'll come up with instead. Trump, also, I guess, tweeted immediately after Biden's speech something, I think 2 words, unity now or something like that. Trump is said to be in the process of rewriting his acceptance speech at the convention, to quote Trump. The speech I was going to give on Thursday was going to be a humdinger. Had this not happened, this would have been one of the most incredible speeches, aimed mostly at the policies of President Joe Biden. Honestly, it's going to be a whole different speech now. So here's what I think he's going to do in the speech. I wouldn't be surprised. And this already has come out all over Twitter, but I think Trump has even said it. This is divine intervention, right? The reason Trump is not dead is because God wants him alive and God wants him to be president. So he saved him. He goes into this whole thing about how he moved his head in an atypical way because he typically looks directly at the audience, and he moved his head to look at the teleprompter because there's a graph there about immigration he was going to talk about. And that little pivot of his head is what saved his life. And he's already attributed it to God. I don't think he believes in God, but he is going to use this as an attempt to unite the country behind himself. He switched from planning to excite the voter base in his speech at the convention in a few days to a speech that's going to be, I think, more focused on making America great again, less focused on how awful things are today. He says, in his words, who knows how this will come through, quote, "This is a chance to bring the whole country, even the whole world, together." The speech will be a lot different than it would have been 2 days ago. So Trump is claiming he's going to change his tone. He's claiming he's going to be focused on bringing the world together, bringing the country together, and trying to create some sense of unity, trying to use this horrible event to bring about something positive. Now, whether he can do that, whether it's in his DNA, whether he's capable of doing that, I haven't seen much evidence of that in the 8 years or so that he has been campaigning or president, to find a way for him to do this positively. Whether he literally takes the mantle of "God save me, I'm the anointed one," I don't know. We will see. It'll be interesting if he does. This might, we'll see, change the tone of the campaign. I also think what's happening is the Democrats now realize basically Trump's won. I think the pressure on Biden to leave has probably gone down significantly because the reality is there's probably no one in the Democratic Party right now who wants to replace Biden. Whereas before, there was a lot of candidates who wanted to replace Biden. Nobody wants to replace Biden right now because everybody knows that Trump is very, very likely to win. And who the hell wants to go run a campaign just to lose? So there's significant, I think, energy. This is going to energize Trump's base. It's going to energize people who are undecided. Generally, I think this plays right into Trump's hands. I kind of get the conspiracy that's a false flag because this is so, Trump is probably going to win anyway, but this is so, just secures that pretty much. All right, let's see, what else? Yeah, unity. There'll be a lot of that. The question is unity around what? What will we be asked to unite around? I mean, nothing here changes the essence of who Trump is. Nothing here changes his ideas, and I use ideas tentatively because I don't really think Trump has any. Nothing in this changes the long-term, trajectory of what Trump does as president. It doesn't change his character. It doesn't change the Republican Party. It doesn't change the nature of MAGA and the base. I think it'll provide immense motivation and energy, and every ad campaign now will have Trump with that big flag behind him and his fist raised. And it's just, you can't beat that. You just can't beat that. That plays into the whole, patriotic, make America great again theme. And he could very well win in a landslide. And if he does win in a landslide, if this is the thing, not Biden's senility, but if this is the thing that makes him win in a landslide, then, we're in for a much faster progression towards authoritarianism than if he wins by a small margin or if he loses. We're in for, a inspired, motivated, statist administration that will, if they win in a landslide, that will steamroll over the opposition. We're in for an imperial presidency that is much more powerful than anything he could get away with in his first term. And if he wins in a landslide, it's also likely the Republicans keep the House and take the Senate. And then what? And then who knows what they can pass? And they could take the Senate by a big margin. So I just, in the whole, violence always leads to bad outcomes. It just does. If Trump would have been taken out here, it would have been an awful outcome. If Trump would have been killed here, it would have, convinced the MAGA and the alt-right and the new right that civil war is inevitable. It would have inspired them. It would have made the worst elements in American right-wing politics gain more power. It would have led to convention next week, which would have, who knows who they would have elevated to the position. But it would have made things a lot worse. A lot worse. But missing him and the way Trump capitalized on it, and the way he used it for photo op and all of that, I think this is going to lead to a landslide. And if it leads to a landslide, again, we're in deep trouble as a country. We're in deep, deep trouble because nothing here, even if you might have been inspired by how Trump handled it, even if you're inspired by his fight or whatever, this didn't change who he is and what he is. But it will bring the Republican Party together around him in a way. It will shame the never-Trumpers. It'll bring everybody together. Just one quick example. Nikki Haley was not going to speak at the Republican National Convention this week. She was not going to speak. Not clear if she wasn't invited or she didn't want to speak, but she was not going to speak. And as of this morning, she's on the program. As is DeSantis. Everybody now will want to speak because it's clear Trump is winning and they want unity. This is handed Trump, in a sense, this gift. This gift of unity. Soup Cask says she was invited. But if she was invited, she said no. And now she's in because now she wants to be part of this unity ticket. But Trump cannot govern from the perspective of unity, and he won't. Anyway, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what this does to Trump's psychology because he plays the victim so well. He's so good at being the fighter from a victimhood perspective. And now, what does he do? If he's going for unity, he has to be less dark, less negative, he can play the victim in a different way. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to be watching this and see what happens. So I'm curious to see what they discover about Crooks. Curious to see what information we still get about him and how he planned this and how he got away with it. It'll be super interesting to find out just how they explain the complete and utter incompetence of the Secret Service and what they're going to do about it, whether the head of Secret Service actually resigns or not. This is an unbelievable fiasco. And I don't expect this to lead to more violence. I expect political violence in our future. I think that's inevitably in our future. Not inevitable, but highly likely in our future. But I don't see it anytime soon. I think this will kind of take the wind out of anybody's tendency towards political violence. I think this will take it out of there. All right, let's see. What do we want to do? So there's one other topic I want to cover, which is also related to Trump. I do want to remind everybody, even though we've got 330 people watching right now, we're way behind on raising money to make this show happen. So a lot of you are watching right now and listening right now, but not engaged in supporting the show. So please consider supporting the show. There's on the super chat. Click on the super chat button, make a contribution, $5, $10, $50, $100. But we are way, way, way behind. John says, I don't know what super chat wants from me. It won't take my message. Try misspelling any word that might be even moderately controversial. All right, one more story that is related to Trump and is related to what's going on, and that is this story about the document case. So this morning, a federal judge, Judge Eileen Cannon, who has been presiding over the documents case from the beginning, the judge has basically thrown out the entire case. She dismissed the entire case, claiming that appointing a special counsel, which is what the Justice Department did in order to investigate the documents and also to investigate the other case that Trump is involved in, the January 6th case. They had a special counsel. Judge Eileen Cannon, who was appointed by Trump and is clearly, and has been from the beginning of this trial, very pro-Trump, she has basically decided that the whole special counsel phenomena, the whole special counsel function, is actually unconstitutional. And she's ruled against, this is a 93-page ruling that basically says there's no legal authority that gives the Attorney General broad broad authority to appoint, and appointment powers. It doesn't give him the right to appoint a federal officer with the kind of prosecutorial power wielded by Special Counsel Smith. Now, this undoes 30 years of special counsels. For 30 years, there have been special counsels that have worked for the Justice Department, with the Justice Department, and have gone after kind of unique cases like this. Now, all of this was made possible by a reference in Clarence Thomas on a completely different case, where he kind of, as an aside, mentioned in this case before the Supreme Court, in a decision, I think this was a minority position, he claimed, Thomas did, that there's no constitutional power to appoint a special counsel, even though it's been the practice in the United States for 30 years. Just threw that in there. I don't know, for good measure, even though it wasn't relevant to the case at hand. And then suddenly, Eileen Cannon, the judge, uses that decision, in a sense, by Thomas to throw out the entire case against Trump. So we're talking about, maybe I went too fast. We're talking about the document case, the confidential documents that Trump took home, the top secret documents that he took home. And the judge has just thrown that case out. It will be appealed. It's very likely to be appealed by the special counsel. It'll probably go to the Supreme Court, which will have to decide about the whole phenomenon of special counsels, and they could just wipe out the whole phenomenon of special counsels. Basically, every administration that I can think of has had a special counsel. But that's all gone now. Again, unless her decision gets overturned on appeal, it's going to be interesting to watch. But this Eileen Cannon, one of the things I think they'll do is when they appeal it, they'll also ask for a different judge. Now, of course, all this becomes irrelevant because Trump is going to win and tell the Justice Department to stop this prosecution. So, I think Z400 Racist says, I bet even Thomas is like, what the hell? No, I don't think so. I think Thomas explicitly put it into an opinion in a sense where it didn't even belong, so that, to educate, if you will, Judge Eileen Cannon, so that she could rule against this. I think it was explicitly done by Thomas to help Trump. Now, I don't think that's a conspiracy. I think that's just straight up. It's the only thing that makes any sense. Only thing that makes any sense. Why would he otherwise do this? He wanted to put on record, he wanted to let people know that in his opinion, special prosecutors don't matter. Now, why would he do that? Well, because the two special prosecutor cases in front of judges relating to Donald Trump. And Thomas wanted to make sure that people knew that, at least by some interpretation, and I have no opinion about whether this is true or not true. I just find the whole thing very convenient that it is happening, and find it very convenient that nobody's ever challenged this special prosecutor power before it was related to Donald Trump. So there you have it. Now, if you're interested in these legal issues, including the question of immunity, but primarily we're going to focus on Chevron, regulatory power, the administrative state. If you're interested in any of these things, the court rulings, free speech, that's the other big one, then you've got to join me tonight, 7 p.m. East Coast time, with Steve Simpson. Steve is a lawyer with Pacific Legal Foundation. He was a lawyer in the past with the The name of the organization just slipped my mind, which I can't believe. But anyway, this kind of public policy law is what he does. His cases have been in front of the Supreme Court. Institute for Justice, thank you, Diego. He used to be with the Institute for Justice, which is also taking cases to the Supreme Court, of course. So he will come to discuss the free speech decisions of the Supreme Court this term, the Chevron and administrative state decisions, but we will also get into the immunity decision, and I also want to ask him about this throwing out the special counsel provision, which should be interesting. Anyway, Steve Simpson is really, really, really good. So don't forget to join us tonight, 7 p.m. East Coast time, to discuss these issues related to the Supreme Court. Any other legal issues? Feel free to jump on. All right. I know I missed a bunch of stickers right at the beginning of the show, but I'm going to thank Mike and Tazy and Gaffrey and Gene and Soup Cask and Jeremy. Jeremy just did 5 gift memberships. And Paul, who became a member, thanks for coming, and another Paul for a sticker, and Mary Arlene and Stephen Hayes and David Arsenault and Johnny Ruiz and Alice Miller and Vadim. Thank you all for doing stickers and helping support the Yaron Brook Show. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. We got 325 people watching right now. This is great. So we'll take questions. Questions can be. I'll give priority for questions on Trump, on the election, on what happened, on the shooting, and we'll take it from there, or on the Cannon's throwing out of the classified documents case, which is pretty amazing, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting how long they figure out a motive for this guy, or whether they ever figure out a motive for this guy. It does sound like the other news item is that Trump will announce his VP pick today. So we should hear any time today who the VP pick is. I guess I'm thinking that I'm going to take a guess here, that the VP pick is going to be the worst possible of the ones that were up, which is J.D. Vance, which I dread. I can't think of a worse pick. Oh, one worse pick than that. But J.D. Vance is about as bad as it gets. And this is, I'll just mention this and then I'll take your questions. J.D. Vance is, and Josh Hawley would be worse, right? Josh Hawley would be worse. J.D. Vance and Josh Hawley are the intellectual foundations. They have the charisma, the intellect, and the ideas. And they're super smart to take MAGA movement into a far more explicitly Christian nationalist direction. Vance is a Christian nationalist. Josh Hawley came out as one about as explicitly as you can during the National Conservative Conference last week. And Vance is right in there. He's an economic statist. He is an anti-capitalist, an anti-free market. He is a friend to Elizabeth Warren when it comes to economics. And he is, at the end of the day, part of this new Christian nationalist movement on the right. So I can't think of a worse candidate other than Josh Hawley himself. Maybe Tucker Carlson. Those three would be my nightmare. Bugram is not threatening, and maybe he's the guy Trump goes with. He's not threatening. He doesn't hurt the ticket. He doesn't help the ticket much. He's just there. So he might go with Bugram, but if he goes with J.D. Vance, that is very, very bad, I think. Very, very bad for the country. Very, very bad for all of our futures. He might go with Bugram because he doesn't need whatever Vance would give him. Bergholm gives him very little, but he doesn't need much. All right, so VP pick today. And yeah, we're super interested to see what Trump's speech is going to be like. I'm really curious. All right, Lucinda, if Trump had died, wouldn't that just skyrocketed the power of the Trump movement? Wouldn't the memory of Trump just have ascended to the status of some sort of martyrdom? Weird writing because YouTube is silly. Yeah. So she had to misspell and do all kinds of stuff to the text in order to get it written because YouTube won't take it if it's straight words. They won't take a question that has things like died or anything like that. I think it would have made Trump a martyr, but politically, who would have replaced him? I think in terms of his replacement, it would have been somebody, I think, worse than Trump. Because I think they would have gone to the most radical elements on the right. That would have been a response to Trump being killed. So I do think it would have been worse, and I said this, I do think it would be worse in every respect if the guy had been successful in killing Trump. Luckily it wasn't, but it's still going to be bad because Trump is going to win and might win in a landslide. So at this point, we can't win. At this point, this movement is on the ascent. It's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. There's no elements in the Republican Party pushing it in a better direction. Those elements are now silenced. You can see it with Nikki Haley coming to the convention and going to give a rousing speech in defense of Trump. So you can see the complete sellout of everybody. It's about a personality cult, but that personality cult is not going to be taken over by people with an ideology, and that ideology is not a good ideology. It's an anti-freedom, anti-liberty, anti-capitalism, anti-American ideology. And the Republican Party is now going to be even worse than it had been, even worse than what it was becoming before this event on Saturday, this attempted assassination on Saturday. So this is terrible. Terrible for the country. It's terrible for all of us. It's terrible for the Republican Party. Yeah, I mean, I don't like Massey because his foreign policy is awful. It's not just that he votes against Israel. He votes against America. His foreign policy is just beneath contempt. So, it's the one thing I have against him, and I had against what's his name, Justin Amash, and they all have horrible foreign policy. They're anti-American in their foreign policy. All right, object bot. Object bot. Given everything we know about Putin regime in Russia, with the level of evidence that we have, would it be moral for someone to try on Putin what Crooks tried on Trump? Yes, absolutely. And the fundamental difference is that Putin is a dictator. Putin is a dictator. He's an authoritarian who's launched a war, who is violating the rights of Russians left and right, and destroying their lives. And Trump, as bad as he is still participating, even though he tried to reject it and tried to deny it, is still participating in the American process of elections. As much as he would have liked to, he did not, shut down free speech. As much as he'd like to, he did not become a dictator. He did not become an authoritarian. So there's no justification to shoot him at this point. If he becomes one, unequivocally a dictator, unequivocally an authoritarian, or even a totalitarian, if he puts his political enemies in jail if he clearly shuts down our ability to criticize him, then that changes things, right? And this is why it's okay to shoot Putin, but not okay to shoot Trump. All right, let's see. The kind of isolationism Massey and the others are for, this is the same with Ron Paul, the kind of isolationism that they argue for is anti-American. It basically blames America for all the world's problems. It basically says the Muslims hate us because of us, it's our fault. It refuses to recognize the threat that Islamism poses to America. It refuses to acknowledge the right of Americans to defend themselves. It is anti-American because it perceives America as the fundamental cause of all the world's problems, the fundamental cause of the instability, the instability in the world. It is. Somebody asked, what about Trudeau? I mean, the same thing is said about Trudeau, even though I despise Trudeau, and even though Trudeau is further along in violating people's rights. If you don't like Trudeau, vote against him. There's still a process by which we can vote Trudeau out. And there's still a process in Canada where you can publish an op-ed that rejects Trudeau. You can go and give a speech that rejects Trudeau. There's still enough freedom in Canada that you can oppose the current government. When that is gone, only then is it justifiable to engage in that form of violence. Now, again, if you want to start a literal revolution in the name of freedom, and you know what that means, and you've got enough people that maybe you can win, then that's a different story. But that doesn't exist. There's like a handful of people in the entire United States of America who knows what freedom is. Maybe they're 312, which is the number of people listening here. But nobody's starting a revolution. Nobody's starting a revolution today. All right, let's see. All right, we got a bunch of questions. Michael. While this is morbid to ask, if the guy had been successful, would that have changed the right for the better? No, I think it would have changed them even for the worst. It would, as I said, it would have brought out the worst elements in the right, and they would have basically had control over the narrative and control over the right. What did I plug? Somebody said, nice plug there, Yaron. I don't know what I plugged. All right, don't forget, you can ask questions. You can support the show with a sticker. We've got 320 people watching right now. Stickers, questions, show some support, value for value. Michael, people are arguing the left pulled this stunt to distract people from Biden's dilemma. No. I mean, maybe we'll find out that this was all orchestrated by somebody on the left. But that would be so bizarre. I think the probability of that is very close to zero. People are saying lots of things. Beware of all the conspiracy theories. This is I think, from everything I've read so far, this is some loon who, for whatever reason, decided he was going to kill him a president and get in the newspaper and whatever. This is a guy who'd given up on life, who was nihilistic and wanted to burn it down with him. And again, I think this is the kind of profile of a person who might have, in other circumstances, shut up a school and instead did this. That, in my view, is what's going on here. And maybe he was radicalized. Maybe he was some Antifa, fire-breathing, radical. Maybe not, right? Maybe not. So far, no evidence one way or the other, so we'll wait and see. John, thank you. John says, Super Chat can be really ridiculous. Yes, I'll get you a question it's on the list here. Michael says, why did the Secret Service not secure an obvious line of sight threat? Too many social justice hires? I mean, that's the easy explanation. I doubt that. I just think it's incompetence, and I don't think incompetence is unique to social justice hires. I think they're just incompetent. I don't think they're that smart or clever. Why didn't the Capitol Police secure the Capitol when there were plenty of reasons to believe that on January 6th that riots might break out? Why didn't we get our troops out of Afghanistan in a better way than we did? Sheer, unequivocal incompetence. Yeah, Thomas says, you should try to reach out to Massey like you did with Millet. This is the difference. I trust Millet because I see Millet's foreign policy. And Millet's foreign policy shows me that he's much more pro-American than Massey is. And he's much more pro-West than Massey is. He understands the world in a much deeper sense than Massey or any of those people on the so-called libertarian Republican side do. And even though Millet calls himself an anarchist, it's not just that he likes Israel, that he supports Israel, that he supports Ukraine, that he cancels a arms shipment from China, that he shifts the arms shipment to the United States, refuses to join BRICS, says he's completely aligned with the U.S. and in the West, and he sees Argentina as belonging to the U.S. and the West. And yesterday is the first South American country, hard to believe, but this is true, first South American country to declare Hamas as a terrorist organization. So he's just got a pro-West rational foreign policy. Massey and Amesh and some of these other guys have an anti-West foreign policy. And that, politicians, foreign policy is really important. It's the one thing politicians should do. And Millet is a good one. And these American Republican libertarians have a bad one. And that says a lot about who and what they are. And this is not about funding. This is about, because I'm all for America not funding Israel, this is about principle. It's about who you support. It's about taking a moral stance. It's about American self-defense and defending America. Matt, do higher-ups within the SS, Secret Service, not the SS, do the higher-ups in the Secret Service not like Trump and thus take the security protocols less seriously for him, leading to that building not being secured? I don't think so. I think if it was Biden, it would have happened the same way. I mean, I suspect that they're just not that focused. It's a job, and threats are minimal. Luckily, we live in a country where this doesn't happen often, and they screw up. And they probably screw up a lot. But we don't know that they screw up a lot until somebody takes advantages of the screw up. So, yes. So I think they messed up. It's not just Kennedy. I mean, Reagan was shot, but that was, what was it? That was 1981. So it's been, 40 plus years since a president or presidential candidate was shot. In the 60s, we had a presidential candidate shot, and Martin Luther King. But it just doesn't happen in a long time, and I think they're getting complacent. I don't think it's a dislike of Trump. My guess is a lot of Secret Service guys love Trump. I mean, he's probably their kind of guy. Ryan, almost 300 people watching. Please like the show. Don't forget to like the show before you leave, please. It's a great way to help the algorithm. It doesn't cost you anything. Of course, don't press it if you don't like it. But please consider liking the show, given that it's easy to do, helps the algorithm, promotes the show, gets us out there. Just click that little button with the thumbs up. And if you don't like the show, that's fine. You can press the thumb down or not press anything at all. All right. Stickers, super chats, yes. We should be blowing away the goal given how many people are watching, and we're not. So a lot of people watching who are free writers. All right, James G. A lot of billionaires have bunkers. Have you ever thought of buying a bunker, owning land away from a lot of people? First of all, I'm not a billionaire. And no, I've never thought of that. It's just like, I don't live in fear. I don't believe in it. I don't think it's worth it. Now, if I was a billionaire and it didn't cost me anything, it didn't take any time, and I just could say to my people, build me a bunker somewhere, just so I know there's a bunker somewhere. Yeah, maybe I'd do it. But I don't have people. I don't have that kind of money. And I don't want to live in that kind of fear. I don't want to live away from a lot of people. I like going to restaurants. I like going to the beach. I like there being people around. Not too many, but I like people around. So no, I have no temptation to just go somewhere. And I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. You know, as I think many of you know, I'm going to Israel in September. I would have gone. It's just. I refuse to live in fear. I refuse to let the bad guys win in any sense. I mean, they win enough in regulating and taxing and controlling my life. Even taxing, I found a way to reduce that, right? But yeah, I mean, the only reason I have some tinned sardines is because of hurricanes. Plus, I love tinned sardines. I think they're really cool. That's because John says he has some tinned mackerel as a protection against the end of days. My tinned sardines are there because I love sardines, and they're really, really healthy. Healthier than mackerel. Mackerel has a lot of mercury in it. Sardines don't have mercury because they're small fish. And anyway. Neocon, the assassination attempt aftermath exposed mindless tribalism. The right blamed DEI and female Secret Service agents, yes. And the left claimed it was staged. Oh, and the right claimed it was the Biden administration. Don't let the right get off the hook, because they're even more to blame for this, right? Because they claimed it was Biden. They claimed the Secret Service did it on purpose. They claimed the Secret Service wanted him dead. Lots and lots and lots of conspiracy theory. I don't think mackerel has low mercury. Check it out, man. It's a big fish. We're going to get into a fight. I'm going to have to, suspend John from the channel because he thinks mackerel have low mercury. What's the matter with you, John? I mean, check on Google. Google mercury mackerel and let me know, because if mackerel has tuna has high mercury, swordfish has the highest. Big fish generally have high mercury, and I think mackerel is a big fish. James, why do you think celebrities and a lot of people in the African American community think it was staged and fake despite someone dying? How do you change that aspect within the culture of America? I mean, I think they're very susceptible to conspiracy theories. I think this comes from a victim mentality. I think it comes from a culture that is, I think it comes from a culture that is not expected to think, that is not expected to be intellectual, right? So what the black culture in America needs is a heavy dose of reason, and they need an educational system, schools, where they're taught to think. And when you're not taught to think, which I think many of them, unfortunately, because the schools are really, really bad, Many of them, because they're not taught to think, they still need explanations for what's going on in the world, are very susceptible to conspiracy theories. You see the same thing among, what you'd call rednecks or white trash or whatever you want to call them. So any subgrouping where the education is not a matter of how high of an education, but the basic education they get does not equip them to deal with reality, because it does not equip them to deal with logic and reason and rationality and facts and evidence and to see cause and effect in the world and to understand ideas. If you don't get an education that allows you to do that, and unfortunately most people don't, but this is particularly true of, I'd say, poor people who go to particularly bad schools, you're going to be susceptible to easy, simple, really, really dumb conspiracy theories. You can see, why are evangelicals so susceptible to QAnon and all the other nonsensical conspiracy theories that are out there? The same kind of thing. It's a bad education and an unwillingness, for whatever reason, for these individuals to use their own mind. All right, I think we have some conclusive decisions here about mackerel. Luke says, mackerel from Alaska, low in mercury. King mackerel from the Western Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico have high mercury content. Spanish mercury also has mercury concerns. All right, so if you want to eat mackerel, because it's high omega-3 and it's a good fish and it's tasty and all that, you got to get Alaskan mackerel. All the other mackerels have high mercury. I know this because I'm super susceptible for whatever reason to mercury. And years ago, I don't know if you need to hear the story, but years ago, I was eating a lot of fish, a lot of sushi. And I went to my doctor and said, I'm eating a lot of sushi. I eat a lot of fish. Is this an issue? And he says, you know what? Let's test your mercury. So we tested. And it was like through the roof. It was, usually they say 10, 12 in your blood is high. You got to get it down from that. Mine was 30. So I stopped eating fish and it crashed. I've gotten it down to like 1 and 2 once I drop the fish. And then when I eat fish again, it rises. And I've been eating fish a lot lately. This is why it's in my consciousness right now. And I just had, like 3 days ago, my mercury tested. So we'll find out in the next few days whether all this additional fish that I'm eating has raised my my mercury level. John says his is Scottish mackerel. Scottish mackerel, because it's very cold up there, might be similar to Alaskan mackerel. So I'm curious. Check out Scottish mackerel. Is Scottish mackerel high in mercury or not? All right, Lucinda. Let's all blow that goal away, guys. Lucinda's trying to motivate you guys. She put $55 into this. Let's all blow the goal away, guys. I generally don't know what YouTubers' problems is, but I had to write this message weirdly again because it's too violent or something. I tried adding an exclamation mark, but that was also too violent. I think it's blow. You can't blow anything. Like blow up, blow away, blow that. Very dangerous language there, Lucinda. You might be inciting violence on the show, and we've got to figure out. We've got to tone you down here a little bit. I mean, Z Racer is now claiming he was nearly injured. I mean, there might be a lawsuit. Involved with this, and maybe guys. I mean, what about the gals? I mean, guys is kind of sexist. What about the girls and other girls and guys? Maybe, I mean, isn't the reality that there are no guys or gals, and you gotta call them them, they, he, whatever? I don't know how it works. Anyway, Wes, thank you for the sticker. Alex, thank you for the sticker. Let's see, Shazbad, thank you for the sticker. And how far back? State of B, thank you for the membership. I think we're good. All right, let's do this. We have to end soon. Maribbens, you must think I'm running out of words to describe how your absence makes me feel. But, what about bereft? Now, this is not aimed at me, just so we're clear. She's not writing this to me. She's writing it, well, no, this is Philosophy at Work writing it to maribbens. So I'm off the hook. Philosophy at Work is not expressing these words of bereftness towards me, but towards maribbens. Sandy, thank you for the sticker. Neocon, it's ironic the right, which spread baseless vaccine in 2022 election conspiracy, is now angry at the left. It's ironic that the right, which spread baseless vaccine in 2020 election conspiracies, is now angry at the left for claiming Trump staged this assassination. Not surprising at all. This is all. This is all what do you call it? Anticipated. It's all consistent with the tribalism we're seeing. Sandy says, thank you for the show. Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate that. Michael says, I will defeat Dawnlelled Raygain this September. You can take that to the post office. Joe Biden. I have no idea what that means. Maribbens, Philosophy at Work's Newton conceptualized the differences between weight and mass, but what about the heft? That's pretty clever. I'll take that. That's pretty clever. I mean, I don't know what in code it means, but it is clever. Ooh, we're getting some first-time super chatters. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all this first-time supporters. We're just $28 short of the goal, guys. $28. Anybody could step in and make it up like that. Chris, why are you convinced that Trump will still win even against a candidate who's more competent and fully possession of his or her mental faculties? Because I think the country wants him. Because I think that the country's, particularly after this, that the country is fed up with what they have. I think that I think they've bought into his BS. I mean, you know what I think of him and how terrible I think he is, but I think they bought into it. So I think that Trump is popular right now. I mean, all the polls show it. I mean, I think that people have forgotten his real nature. They buy into what he says. They have this vague positive recollection of when he was president, things were good, which I think is completely fake and false, but I think they have that. All right, Christian, what is your stance in general about very dark humor? Asking because I got sent things like, for example, quote, no one was that disappointed about 2 inches since Stormy. Yeah, okay. I mean, I think that's pretty funny. So I don't know. I think dark humor can be funny sometimes. All right, guys, I'm running out of time here. We've got sending a lot of questions, and I have a hard stop very soon. So let me run through these. Let me start with the 50 and the 20 if we made our goal. So thank you, guys, and thank you, Deworski, for the $30. Really appreciate that. What are your thoughts on writing candidates when voting for president, voting for John Galt, given the absurdity of candidates up for election in a two-way system? Did Ayn Rand ever comment on this? She did not, but she often did not vote for president. So I think it's important to go to vote for your local candidates and House and Senate if you can. But, for presidents, I think it's fine not to vote, and a write-in candidate is fine. I don't think it matters if you do a write-in. I don't think anybody is reading it and keeping a list of all the write-in candidates. I doubt that's happening. So the main thing is, I mean, you should write me in. Yeah, you should write Yaron Brook in. But the main thing is that it's just don't vote for the bastards who are on the ticket, because they're not worth your vote. They're not worth your time. Lucinda, let us move in a peaceful manner in unity and acceptance towards this goal, This should be more to YouTube's liking. Yeah, I think you nailed it, Lucinda. I mean, that got 2 thumbs up from YouTube. Elise says, Yaron, do you do book reviews? How can I submit? Send me an email, yaron@yaronbrookshow.com. I mean, depending on the book, I'll let you know how much it costs, but it'd probably be pretty expensive given that its books are long and take a lot of time. Oh, God, you guys are just flooding me with questions. At some point, I won't be able to answer them. Flirtatious. I just won the presidency with 22% of the vote by winning the states that have more electoral college votes with 51% in their voting districts and will need to fill my presidential candidate. Whom from ARI can help me fix the United States? I mean, I can. So just email me. We can get together, and I can help you fill out all of the major positions. There won't be that many positions to fill once we have trimmed down the government to its proper size. So I wouldn't worry about the lack of talent. We don't need that many. We mainly need people who are very good at firing people and shutting stuff down. Apollo Zeus, you know, Yaron Brook, there are 2 types of people in the world, me and not so gifted people. Apollo Zeus is very confident in himself. Paul, Trump ironically was almost a consistent exponent of emotionalistic, nihilistic philosophy he brought to the forefront of American politics. Yes. I mean, Trump has, in his mannerisms, in his attitude, in his verbiage, has expressed more violent tendencies politically than any candidate that I can think of. So, yes, he almost became the victim of his own nihilism. Donald Trump may milk it by coming out positive to neutralize those critical of him. Yes. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how his speech goes. I'm not sure he's capable of it, though. Is he capable of being positive? And what does that look like? Mary Eileen, thank you. Alex's thought, time to get out of stocks if the landslide happens. I mean, stocks might go up in the short run. I mean, it's very difficult to correlate stocks and short-run economic performance with this president or that, and long-term moves. John, 1, as a culture, we're stranded on the perceptual level. And when you couple that with our embracing of altruism, and I think you're absolutely right, he's going to be elevated to sainthood. Sadly, I think there's a good chance that he is elevated and he embraces that, he accepts that. Hey, Yaron, I'm optimistic personally, studying a STEM accounting master's, that's great. But society-wise, I'm pessimistic about the country's moral health. Advice. Keep listening to Yaron Brook Show, because I share those sentiments and I try to distill them and try to make sense of them and try to keep you on a positive front from a personal perspective. But yes, I mean, it's hard to be optimistic about what's going on in the world, but you've got to live your life, and you can't live your life from the perspective of the world's going to end tomorrow, particularly when it's not. Marilyn says, I've been ignoring current events all weekend, knowing that your analysis will be so much better than all the rest. Thank you. Thank you, Marilyn. I figured many of you were, and that's why I was thinking of doing something on Saturday, for those of you who get all your news from me. P would be replaced by another Russian. They're all hundreds of thousands strong, not enough knowledge on their network. I want to do the bridge gap. Not sure I understand what you're saying, Mark. James, any updates on the refund? Did you watch Godzilla yet? It is on Netflix, I believe. Side note, what has been the total tools you used over the years for focus? Is there more than one? I forgot. I apologize, James, but I just forgot about the refund. So drop me an email and we can figure out how to do the refund. But obviously, you're owed a refund. I have watched Godzilla. I liked it. I'll say more about it on a future show. I don't focus. It's not an issue of tool for focus. Focus is just something you have to do. And I would say the one tool, the one thing that trains you to focus, I find for me, is classical music, where you have to stay in focus with a piece of music for 20 minutes and you really follow it and you don't let your mind drift, that's a good way. I'm sure there are lots of ways to different people come up with different ways to achieve that level of focus. Mark says, certain words are being censored by SC, I think by YouTube. John, why did you ban Scott? What did he say that was so bad? He got on my nerves. I mean, it wasn't anything that he said specifically. It's just one after the other after the other. He was making some connection, which is just so stupid and ridiculous, between conspiracy theories and me attributing moral blame to Netanyahu for October 7th. That is just so stupid. And for somebody like Scott, who claims to be an objectivist, not to see that, people in leadership positions have moral responsibility, it's just so, and of course this is a combination of a very long period of time. So that's what he said specifically now, but it's just, it comes from, he's got such an ugly soul, where he misinterprets things that I say on purpose, and then throws, in a weird, perverted kind of way, and then throws them back at me, and I've just had it. I'm just fed up with it. So there's no reason for me to tolerate it. James, is there a VP pick that would make you pull the lever for Trump? No, because VPs don't matter. Drowski, I've been really enjoying the vaccine news you've been covering recently. Fascinating stuff. What vaccine news I've been covering recently? I haven't. There's nothing new about the vaccines, other than they worked and side effects are minimal. John asked, did you talk to Leonard about the move to Austin? I didn't, but he is aware of it. Demon, keep it up. We'll actually ask questions at end of week. Thank you, Demon. Wolfbrand, are you worried about more political violence after Trump's attack? No, not really. I mean, I'm worried about political violence generally. Generally, I'm worried about political violence, short-term and long-term in the United States, but not specifically because of this. I think because as we become more tribal, and we're becoming more and more tribal, there'll be more political violence. Michael, it often takes 3 attempts to get a question past Super Chat through encryption. This will make people less likely to donate going forward. Can you speak with somebody loosening up the controls? I will speak to somebody. I'll try. I'm not sure what the hell is going on. Robert, good show. A lot of discussions covering these events are either inappropriately hooligan, given the gravity of current events, or too careful not to offend anybody. This episode was just right. Appreciate that, Robert. Sandy, do you think it was a Gulch type civ who would move there if the population was in the hundreds or thousands? Yeah, I would move there if there was a real Gulch place. Absolutely. No matter how big it was. Wesley, I have zero sympathy for Trump and his supporters. After recent events, they brought this upon themselves. It's very dangerous to attribute violence to bringing it on yourself, so I don't do that. You don't bring upon yourself violence. I find Trump despicable, and I despise the man, and he has really no values from my perspective, no value from my perspective. I still don't think violence should be used in politics. It's a very, very, very dangerous place once we start using violence or think it's okay to use violence. Lucinda, the Yaron Brook Show is definitely a positive in my life, and both Yaron and ARI are always great reminders of what rational, serious thought looks like, and that's one of the greatest helps in keeping positive minds. Thank you, Lucinda. And Ori, what is this? What if this was a case similar to Mallory's attempt on Toohey? Well, I mean, there would have to be Mallory, and it would have to be Toohey, and I don't think either one of those are true. And it's it's, you know, I don't think Ayn Rand is trying to justify Mallory's attempted killing of Tui. She understands it. I understand anybody wanting to go after Trump, but I don't justify it. And I wouldn't justify Mallory shooting Tui. Again, I could understand it. Doesn't mean I justify it. Violence is not the way in which you deal with disagreement. Violence is not the way in which you deal with ideas. Tui is a man of ideas, evil ideas, but still a man of ideas. You don't kill Kant. It's okay to kill Hitler, but you don't kill Kant. All right, everybody, reminder, at 7 p.m. tonight, we're going to be talking about all things Supreme Court rulings, all things law with Steve Simpson. So if you have any questions, any issues, if you're interested in what happened in the last Supreme Court session and the decisions and what you think, how Steve evaluates the current Supreme Court, he's quite positive about it, then join us at 7 p.m. East Coast time right here on the Yaron Brook Show. It should be a lot of fun. Paul says, agency for flattening useless, excessive, and ridiculous agencies. You want to head that, Paul? Done. You get to head that one. All right. Thanks, guys. I've got to run. I will see you all at 7 p.m. Bye, everybody.